Hey, Bulls and Bears, you're watching Bull Boom Bear Bust. My name is JJ, back with another dose of economic reality. A lot of recent developments, again, to get caught up on. Things are rapidly changing from day to day here in this economy, in the United States and across the globe as well. We just came off of this CPI inflation number that saw inflation rise at the lowest since over 4 years. February 2021 was the last time we saw it go up only this percentage amount, and this was 2.3%. Now, of course, depending on where you live, this number could vary, and there's different expenses too that aren't included in this number. But as we compare it to previous numbers that have the same basket of goods and services that we look at that people purchase, we see that inflation is slowing. The question is it slowing fast enough for most consumers to keep their head above water? Well, we're going to take a look at the bankruptcy numbers, the debt levels today, and I've got some pretty surprising news I think most of you will find pretty surprising today. So let's go ahead and get into that and more. Let's go ahead and start right here. And this affects most consumers. Not everybody eats eggs, but egg prices have fallen for the first time in months, but still remain near record highs. Egg prices now nationwide declined to an average of $5.12. So a little bit of relief. I try to mix as much good news in here as I can, because some people think that I'm just about negative news or bad news. Not at all true. I mean, this is something that maybe it's good news, right? You can find them actually for $3.50 here in California, but you have to go to a store called Trader Joe's, and you have to get there like within the first hour of opening, and there's a limit of 1 dozen per person. So for those of you with a Trader Joe's in your vicinity, you might want to take a look early in the morning at Trader Joe's. Just a little tip. But going back real quick, over the past couple years, we saw a lot of mysterious fires break out at these egg hatcheries and egg farms, and a lot of problems with the egg flu, the chicken flu, and causing a lot of herds to get killed off. I mean, in the millions, right? So will this become less of a thing, or will we see more of these things going forward, and then egg prices are going to start going back up again? Nobody knows. But it is interesting to keep an eye on what's happening with the eggs and seeing what's happening with the farms, right? And on that topic, real quick here, as far as food, the cost of food, household budgets, and farms, because farms create the food. Well, if it's good food, maybe. If it's real food, hopefully it's not produced in a factory somewhere, but real food produced by farms, in this case eggs. Farmers are having a very difficult time. That's why we need more smaller farms, and instead of just having like 4 or 5 mega farms that produce 90% of a certain product, it would be much better to have a lot of smaller farms. I think the powers that be need to make it much easier for people to farm, and most people just can't do it. People that are working 9 to 5 and they have a family, you just can't farm. I have a little garden out back, and it takes me a lot of time just to pull the weeds, and I ask myself if it's worth it all the time. You know, of course, you have to water it every day, especially when it's hot. I ask myself if it's worth the time for the little amount of food that we get, and I would say yes. Is if you can grow a little bit of food, then that means you can grow a lot of food, because you're learning as you're growing, and that means if things get really tough and times get really hard, and we do see these empty shelves like a lot of people have been talking about because of the tariffs, then you're going to have at least some skills and some knowledge about gardening, right? But let's move on here. Speaking of the tariffs, right? On and off again, high to low. And, every day we're looking at different news here as far as the tariffs go. There were many predictions. We've covered them here over the past couple months. Many predictions of empty shelves, chaos, shortages, and we haven't seen that yet. We're almost in mid-May. Today's the 14th of May as I'm recording this. There were predictions that May was going to be shortages. Remember, we talked about these over the past few weeks. I said here that I didn't think there would be, and I didn't know the tariffs are going to get dropped back down. And this is just a 90-day pause, by the way, on these lower tariffs. Could they bump them back up? Yes, but I really doubt it, because the U.S. needs these imports, and U.S. consumers are loaded up on debt. They can't pay outrageous prices without going further into debt. Which, of course, you could argue they can always go further into debt. But the stress and the strain on households is getting more severe as these costs remain elevated and hopefully don't go higher, but that's what's likely to happen. And this lowering of inflation doesn't mean things are getting more affordable. It just means things are getting less affordable at a slower pace. All right, moving on here, folks. I had to pause it and go outside for a minute. My glasses, they get dark when I go outside, so they'll lighten up here in a couple minutes. Americans are embracing on more road trips because of the uncertainty of flying. We're seeing chaos at a lot of airports, especially United Airlines and in places like New Jersey, a lot of delays, people spending all day at the airport, cancellations of flights, delays of flights. And then even before this whole recent situation with the delayed flights, a lot of airlines suffering troubles and mechanical problems and stuff like that. AAA data shows nearly 40 million people will be driving for Memorial Day. Memorial Day coming up actually pretty soon. Don't you love this time of year? Memorial Day, then we have the 4th of July, not too far after that. And I just love this time of year in the summertime, the celebrations and taking time off work and all that good stuff. Taking road trips, I mean, I think it's probably cheaper than flying, but of course it takes longer to get where you're going. Right? I know people that love to go to Las Vegas here from San Diego. Las Vegas from San Diego, I've had times where it's taken like between 6 and 7 hours because traffic was just awful. And then at those times when you're stuck on the freeway, you wish you would have taken maybe a 45-minute airplane ride instead. But then other times, if you sometimes get lucky or maybe you're driving in the middle of the night, you can get to Las Vegas from San Diego in like, I think maybe, it's been a while. I think maybe 3.5, 4 hours. I have to remember exactly. But anyways, people are traveling more on the roads because of uncertainty of flying. Some popular travel destinations include Denver, Orlando, and Seattle. This is out of the hill here. I'll bring up a picture. So do you want to be stuck in traffic like this, or do you want to take your chance and maybe fly somewhere, even though there's a lot of chaos at the airports right now? Well, we've got crude oil coming in at about $63.33 right now. Gold at $3,183. Silver $32.42. Silver has a long ways to catch up because the ratio compared to gold, I believe it's about 100 to 1 right now. So I would say if I was going to buy any metals right now, it wouldn't be gold. It would definitely be silver, and that's what I've been doing actually. All right, moving on here, folks. Other topics here. We've got more layoffs. Pretty much every day we're seeing really, really big layoffs. So there's a lot of people out there having to change up their jobs, change their careers. We've got Burberry. Burberry is a designer, and they've laid off 1,700 people as they suffer heavy losses. We're looking at an article here out of BBC. I think I see the problem. I think they need new models. Are you guys looking at this? This person looks like he's about ready to fight. He's taking off their jacket. Anyways, luxury fashion firm Burberry has said it's going to cut 1,700 jobs, or could cut, as part of plans to reduce costs. The British designer brand, famed for its distinctive camel red and black check pattern, announced the proposed savings on Wednesday, as it reported a 66 million pound, that's pounds, loss in the last financial year. Wow, folks, that's a big loss. That's a big loss. How are they even staying in business? Probably putting up bonds or something like that. You know, we could look in to see what they're charging for some of those checkered pattern clothes, but I think we'll just skip that because I want to get onto this here. We have a Federal Reserve person out there basically saying now that we're going to see a uptick still because of the tariffs, and they're saying they're going to produce a temporary rise in inflation. Well, inflation went down in April, so we'll see if they're right. This is Fed's Jefferson, Chairman Jefferson, Philip Jefferson. He said Wednesday that if the tariffs already that are unveiled by this administration, if they're sustained, it will cause at least a temporary rise in inflation. If the increases in tariffs announced so far are sustained, they're likely to interrupt progress on the disinflation and generate at least a temporary rise in inflation, unquote. You notice he said disinflation, right? That doesn't mean deflation. It means things are getting more expensive, just at a lower rate. I mean, that's the big thing that I think a lot of people just don't understand when they're looking at these numbers. It's not a victory. Disinflation is not really a victory, right? People need lower cost, lower price of living, but we're unlikely to see that. But because when that happens, when deflation happens, it's very difficult for there not to be a recession, because when you look at the way things are calculated with GDP, which is mostly based on consumer spending, then a drop in inflation typically goes along with a economic downturn with deflation, and then usually a recession. So I don't think I don't really think anybody wants deflation. That's why you see the current administration out there calling for lower rates, right? Even though prices are already high and we don't need lower rates, that's what they want to do. They want to kick the can down the road as long as possible. All right, people, let's move into a little bit of real estate talk today. The housing bubble, home prices. Most people are really tuned in on what's happening with home prices. We're seeing some things change here recently. We see almost a 5-year high in inventory in homes for sale. So that's indicating a possible turning point in the housing market. A lot of people are putting their homes on the market now, and they're sitting longer. And there's this report out here out of Realtor. Basically, the real estate agents and realtors are saying home sellers are pricing their home too high and not listening to the market, right? It's interesting that realtors have to come out and say that. It should be obvious. If you put your home on the market and you're getting a bunch of offers in the first day, you probably priced it competitively. If it's sitting on the market and you're not getting many offers, then you better lower your price. It's simple. But it just has to do with how desperate these sellers are. I mean, if you're desperate to sell your home, you're going to lower the price until you start getting offers. And I'm not sure why the realtors, have to come out with articles like this. Home sellers with unrealistic price expectations are setting themselves up for pain in a softening market that increasingly favors buyers, warn housing market experts. Nationally, the share of home listings with price reduction hit another multi-year high in April, indicating that sellers are increasingly overestimating what their house will fetch in the current market. So there is a little bit to be said about this warning that they're coming out with, or this caution that they're coming out with. If you're trying to sell your home, yes, you can put it on the market for a high price and then come down later, but it might be best to put it on the market right at the beginning at a lower price, because that's when it gets the most views. When it first hits the market, that's when it's going to be in the top of the search results for all those people that are searching by recent listings. So if you price it competitively to begin with, your odds are much higher than if you price it too high and then try to drop. Anyway, I think that's kind of what the realtors are talking about there. I mean, let me know if I'm wrong, but I think that's from what I've been in real estate, that's definitely how it goes. Now, recently we reported that the numbers are out on rents. Rents actually fell 1% year over year, according to Redfin, and that's pretty significant. That's actually the biggest drop, even though a small drop. I mean, 1%, a lot of people are like, what's 1%? Even though that's small, it's actually the biggest drop in 14 months, because up until about a year ago, we started seeing rents go up and up and up every time we looked at the numbers. So a small drop, even though small, is still pretty good news. The biggest drop in 14 months. And things are changing too in the housing and the rental markets here. There's actually a bill that would prevent landlords from evicting low-income people that are pregnant. And that's a bill going up in Oregon. We said right here, they're going to find new ways to prevent a major eviction crisis. And I think the next crisis that comes out, as far as widespread crisis, they're going to come out with new housing protections and new eviction protections. And this is just one small thing, in Oregon, low income and pregnant Oregonians who fail to pay their rent are going to be protected. A bill would prohibit landlords from evicting many low income and pregnant Oregonians, how you say it, and offer rental assistance through the first year of their baby's life. And that's up for consideration in the legislature. The bill would also offer a year of rental assistance to expected residents or new parents at risk of becoming homeless, right? So, I mean, you could say that's a good thing. It likely is. You don't want to see somebody just having a baby go homeless. On the other hand, will you see a lot more people getting pregnant now, knowing that you can't get evicted? I mean, I'm laughing a little bit, but that may not be too out of the realm of realism. People, getting pregnant just to have not get evicted for a year. All right, moving on here, folks. We've got a chart to look at, and this is pretty amazing, I think, to look at here. I think you'll agree. And this is the student loan delinquency rate, folks. Look what just happened. These are the 90-day lates. And this is what happens when you remove protections. We just talked about rental protections. Well, there have been protections for student loans in place for years, ever since the health crisis. And what do we say right here? We said these protections can never be ended. Otherwise, you're going to see a spike. And look what just happened, folks. This is the 90-day delinquency just spiked after these protections were removed. And now they're being reported once again, and they're going to be going to collections. And these student debtors, these people with student loans, you're gonna have to make a decision. Do you want to try to pay this back, or do you want to sit there and wait and hope that there's going to be a new protection coming, maybe 4 years from now, maybe when a new administration takes over, and maybe you're waiting for to win the lottery. I mean, what's your hesitation here? Or they just don't have the money, right? It's not even a decision. They don't have the money. They can't pay it. So instead of paying their loans back, now they're out spending money at the mall. They're out going to the ballpark. They're going to baseball games, basketball games. I should say basketball games. That's a big thing right now with the playoffs going on. But look at this, folks. I mean, look at this. This is 2013. We saw delinquencies up at 12%. And that was just in a normal situation. Now we're coming off of several years of protections. How high is this going to go? I mean, is this going to spike over the nearly 12% that we saw about 10 years ago? I mean, I think it will. And we'll follow up on this and keep track of this and see how this goes. But it doesn't look good for student loan borrowers right now. And there's over 40 million borrowers that are having to get back on track with their payments here, or not get back on track. And a lot of it just comes down to people love to spend money. Right? People love to spend money. On a federal level, the country, we love to spend money. We borrow money. We're coming up to $37 trillion now, the world's largest debtor nation. And in fact, it's gotten so bad. We're approaching uncertain times, is how they're putting it. That's Peter Lefkin. Peter Lefkin. He says U.S. debt just surpassed GDP, and the country now spends more on interest than we do on the defense budget, the military budget. So just on interest on that national debt, with the rates being higher, with the debt now approaching $37 trillion, there's no stopping it, folks. And there's no way to pay this off. I mean, at these levels, when debt and the interest on the debt surpasses the national defense budget, I mean, you have big problems, folks. You're not going to get out of this. And we've known this for years, that you're never going to pay off this debt. It's impossible. But the fact that now these numbers are getting so outrageous, hopefully will just open a lot more eyes and have a lot more people looking at this. Well, going back a few months, remember we were promised that the debt was going to start being paid off because of the tariffs, that we're going to bring in so much money that everybody's going to be rich, and we're going to send out checks to everybody, refund checks or rebate checks. None of that's happened so far, and I don't think it is going to happen, folks. I think it was a bunch of hot air, to try to get popularity. All right, but moving on here, folks. I mean, let me know again if I'm wrong about any of this. I'd like to read your comments. Agree, disagree? Am I completely loony, batty, or are we on target here? I mean, please let me know down in the comments. Actually, the people that disagree, I really like to read your comments too, just like the ones that agree and that give praise and stuff like that. If you disagree, good. Maybe you can teach me something down there. But so far, we've been pretty accurate. I mean, if you've been on this channel, we've been pretty darn accurate. Moving on here, folks. Walmart just recalled many different products nationwide. It's getting crazy with all the recalls. It seems like there's a lot more recalls lately, and the quality of the merchandise and the food, it just seems like it's went down. I bought some. Did I say this in my last report? I bought some Miracle Grow the other day for my garden, and it was full of rocks and just sticks. There was some dirt, some soil, but it was like, I'd have to say it was like 15 to 20% rocks and sticks. And I even found a nail. I'm not lying. I found a nail in there. So it was very, very strange. The qualities definitely went down on Miracle Grow. Miracle Grow potting soil. But items being recalled, and this is Walmart. So it's estimated that 95% of Americans visit a Walmart store at least twice a year. And Baked Beans, Vieto Food Group of Nashville, A recall of over 4,000 cases of Yellowstone brown sugar molasses. I don't eat a lot of beans. Baked bean recall affecting several states. So maybe search for this article if you bought beans recently to make sure it's not yours. Celery sticks due to farm fresh foods based in Oxnard, California. Advisory for celery sticks. So there you go. Celery stick recall, several states. And there's maps of each of these, so maybe check out this article. Tortilla chips recall. Lean cuisine frozen meals. Folks, so check that article out if you are concerned about your grocery list being bad for you. Maybe make you sick. Anyways, let me know what you think about all this down in the comments. The big spike in student loan delinquencies. At the beginning, we talked about the falling inflation. What do you think about that? Real estate homes sitting on the market longer. Realtors coming out telling people to price their homes more competitively. Of course, those realtors, they want those commissions, so they're going to come out and tell people how to more quickly sell their home. Anyways, what do you think about all this, people? Let me know down in the comments. As always, keep stacking. Bye for now. Peace.